Go ahead, Joanne.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Tom and Joanne. I'm Joanne Toronto.
And I'm Tom Matthews. And I'm excited that today we have a special guest with us, Bryan.brown from Guaranteed Rate Home Loan. And he's going to be talking to us today about the interest rate market and what's happening right now. Just for reference point, right now it's February 25th. So we do want to give a reference point so people understand the marketplace we're talking about. But Bryan has been someone we've worked with for 10 plus years now. We love working with he and his team, and we're excited to have him on. So Bryan, why don't you take it away? Tell us a little bit about the marketplace.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It's honored. Love working with you guys. So literally what's happening right now, and my all my gadgets over here are beeping, bells and whistles are going off. Rates are going up. Without getting too into the weeds on why, it's based on speculation that we're, coming out of this, as more people get vaccinated, the world's getting back to normal. There's a lot of positive news around that, which is a great thing, right? It's great for the economy. It's great probably for your 401k investments that you have, but it's mortgages and your mortgage rates and your investments and that sort of thing work inversely, right? So if your investments are doing well, typically if the stock market is doing well, typically mortgages are doing bad. And that's kind of what's happening. So it's speculation. There's not a lot of buying of mortgages in the mortgage-backed security market, which is confusing, but there's a lot that goes into it, but a lot of it has to do with positive speculation. And just to put it into perspective for the listeners, people watching this, in about 10 business days, we've lost over 0.5% in rate, meaning interest rates have gone up over 0.5% in rate. Wow. So on a $400,000 loan, you're talking that's over $100 a month that the payment would change for a buyer.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big number. This type of swing does not happen a lot. I can tell you that the opposite happened pretty much this time last year when the vaccine hit. Interest rates plummeted as fast as they're going up right now. It's very, very similar. So,
yeah. So what do we think about for buyers and, the prospect of the market now? Because I mean, if the interest rates are going up and we don't see any kind of end to this in the forecast, what recommendation would you have for buyers right now?
Well, I think that obviously it's going to make it harder for them for people who are maxing out what they can afford. This makes it even harder. All right. And maybe you guys can talk to this better than I could, but my anticipation is that this may get more sellers to list, right? I think as the buyer pool may shrink, this incredible value increase or purchase price increase may slow down a little bit, which may also help. Some sellers may just say, all right, forget it. We've hit the peak. Let's list now. So again, you guys probably answer this better than I could, but this may be the thing that breaks that log jam and helps more sellers say, you know what, I'm going to list now. The other thing too, is as we get out of, as more people get vaccinated, people are going to start being more willing to move around now and travel around and say, all right, we can sell the house here and move down to Carolina or Florida because, things are opening up again. And that may create more inventory. So for buyers, it's a give and a take, in my opinion. Rates are going to be higher, but there may be more to buy, and the home prices may tick down a little bit because of what's going on. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, actually.
No, I would agree with you. And I think right now Joanne and I were saying, since October, we feel like the market's been almost in like this manic environment. So little homes for sale, so many buyers in the market. And I welcome a change from that to kind of rotate out of that environment to a little bit more of a normal buying and selling environment, because it's just not natural to be having 30 offers on a property. It's better to be in a more normalized. So I think this type of change is good, but I also think it's important for people to have this information, particularly for those buyers who are potentially maxing themselves out, because this is a big difference and it's not going to slow down, know? And yeah, no, I think that's good. I think this is great information for people to hear.
I think the flip side of that coin is people need to remember, though, that rates, even even no matter where we end up, 3.5, 3.75, they're under 4. I mean, it's
still
still
historically low.
Exactly, right? Like we got to put things into perspective here.
Right. Yeah.
Buyers are just so used to hearing 2%. It's going to be a psychological thing to now go over 3.
Right.
But I think that they're going to find that, the increase is not going to change things dramatically. It's $100-ish a month, depending on the loan size. I get that. But, historically, they're still unbelievably low, and buyers should still take advantage. It's still a great time to buy a home interest rate wise. Like, I still highly recommend it.
I also want to introduce one other thing, Bryan. I think it's great to talk about rates, but can you also tell our listeners about appraisals? Because you have some programs where appraisals aren't necessary, and I think a lot of people should know about that.
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool thing. So what happens with mortgage companies like mine and most mortgage companies out there, we underwrite our loans by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines. Okay. So what I do is I literally sit here and I type somebody's application into the system, and then I run it through Fannie and Freddie's underwriting system, and their systems will tell me whether that property will require an appraisal or not for that particular buyer. So, most of the time the buyer's got a strong credit profile, good income, good assets, good credit, and it's a good market. That property and they're putting usually 20% down, that appraisal will get waived a majority of the time. And it's huge. Just because, as you guys know, home values are skyrocketing. There's, people are bidding the prices up.
Right.
So, appraisals are starting to become an issue. I had 2 under appraised last week for that particular reason. The bidding just drove the prices up. So this eliminates that whole issue.
And it saves the buyer time, it saves them money, and it saves them uncertainty. So I think it's a really great program that you guys can offer. And I think it's something that if there are buyers who are listening to this and they want great counsel, we can't highly recommend Bryan and his team enough. I just want people to know that, because it's important to be able to, because in this environment, Bryan, I feel that any agent can sell a property, get an accepted offer, but you need a great team and a great agent to get to the closing table. Because right now you're dealing with 2 properties that didn't appraise. That's a big issue.
It is.
That's a big issue, and you need a competent team to get through that issue.
Exactly. And the sellers right now are just like, well, sorry, it underappraised. Like, I'm going to go with another buyer and we're going to try another appraisal. So to be able to waive the appraisal altogether is a huge tool. So I highly recommend it. And, obviously, that we're not the only company that could do this. So I do recommend people talk to whoever they're pre-approved with, or us, and see, which properties will require appraisals or not. But as realtors, I can't imagine how big of a value add it is in order to, when you're submitting an offer, to say, hey, we're going to waive the appraisal on this one because we don't even need it.
Right.
It has to get you to the top of the pile.
Totally.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. And Bryan, when other thing I'd like to know is, like, what are some other things that buyers should know about in today's climate that can help their offers stand out? And whereas when they're submitting offers, with they're pre-approved with you, working with a partner like us, what else should they know, like timing wise? How long is it taking to get commitments right now? If they what's the process looking like right now for you guys?
Yeah. So the 2 things I were going to say would be appraisal waivers, which we already talked about. And then the second would be timing. So at least at Guaranteed Rate, we have a refinance lane and we have a purchase lane, and the purchase lane is a lot faster, right? Because of the contracts and the dates and the closing dates that we have to hit. Right. So we allocate resources, human resources, to people dedicated to the purchase process and making sure it's like the fast lane, essentially.
Yeah.
So we are still closing purchases in under 30 days, wow, which is incredibly helpful. Now, what we do, a lot of companies can't do this, but what we do is, if a client gets an offer accepted, I will start the loan then, before the inspection even happens. And the reason is I'm not finding many deals, especially in this market where it's such a seller's market. There's so few properties. I'm not finding many deals that blow up at inspection. They can always seem to work it out. The buyers are so motivated that they move forward anyway. So I'm not going to wait. I mean, you guys know it takes 2 weeks from offer accepted to signing the P&S, the inspections and the back and forth, and the tennis match that goes on between the attorneys and all that. I'm not waiting. I'm using that 2 weeks to get ahead, which helps ensure that I can close a loan in 30 days.
Awesome.
So I would say appraisal waivers, and the timing is a second one. And always, for the buyers out there, you just make sure you get your documentation in as fast as you can. That's another crucial piece.
Awesome.
Every day counts.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Bryan. This was all really great consumer information that we want to get out there. And we can't recommend Bryan.brown at Guaranteed Rate enough. Their team is wonderful. Bryan, how could people contact you if they want some more information?
Yeah, you can. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. My email is Bryan, BRYAN.brown, BROWN @rate.com. And my cell phone, I always give it out, is 978-870-7138. Call me. I'm really 24/7. My wife gets that, so we're good there. So yeah, you can have them reach out anytime.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks for joining us, everyone, today. I'm Joanne Toronto.
I'm Tom Matthews, and our guest is Bryan.brown. Thank you, Bryan.
Thanks for having me, guys. You guys are the best.
Cheers.